Okay, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to BWTM Sports Gaming. We're going to be discussing Dillian Whyte versus Povetkin 2, or as it's spelled, Povetkin versus Whyte 2. We'll be right back. So as you can see right there, BWTM Online, the mobile app is now available on Android. An Apple version will be coming shortly, but it's available on Android. So you can go to Google Store, Google Play Store, and download BWTM Online. It's there. Just type in BWTM Online TV. It's all there, so you get to know the latest sports, news, entertainment, music, old school interviews, the lot. It's all there. So check it out, BWTM Online. So enough of that. Let's talk. Let's talk about Alexander Povetkin and Dillian Whyte. Of course, for those of you who want to leave comments in the comment section, please feel free. Become a member today. All you have to do is click the join button and become a member. It's inexpensive, and you can become a member and have the ability to chat in live shows, and also, of course, talk to various guests that we have on the show. So it makes it for a much more enjoyable experience and exclusive to you as well. So moving further on, let's talk about Dillian Whyte versus Alexander Povetkin, or as it's billed, Povetkin versus Whyte 2. And maybe, to be honest with you, the first fight should have been Povetkin versus Whyte. Yes, Dillian Whyte fought his way to the number one position, but he'd never been a world champion, whereas Povetkin actually was a world champion and had fought the better quality opposition, Olympic gold medalist. So he achieved more as an amateur and achieved more as a pro. So really, and I think had the fight been put as Povetkin versus Whyte, even though Whyte wasn't the number one contender with the WBC interim belt, I felt that was a huge step up fight for himself, bearing in mind that Povetkin was the Olympic gold medalist and was the former world champion, experienced fighter, and could knock you out with either hand, and was coming off a good run of fights. Hughie Fury, Michael Hunter, an Olympian himself. So Povetkin was doing well for himself, and David Price. So Povetkin was no slouch. And I remember in the preview to the first fight, I called this fight Red Alert because it was a dangerous fight. The boxing public, or some of the boxing public, overlooked this fight. Like with most fights, it seems today people don't want to do their research. They want to use the excuse, oh, Povetkin's old. No, he's experienced. Povetkin shot. Well, no, in his last fight, he fought Michael Hunter. Michael Hunter also beat Martin Bakole, Sergey Kuzmin, and Ustinov. So when you look at Michael Hunter, he was a dangerous heavyweight, and Povetkin dropped Hunter and arguably beat Hunter in that fight that they had. And I don't think Dillian Whyte walks through Michael Hunter. I think Michael Hunter gives Dillian Whyte some serious problems if the fight is ever made. You know, so for people to sleep on Alexander Povetkin and to say it's a shock was no shock to me. Alexander Povetkin, established Olympian, gold medalist, winner, WBA champion. The only guy to have beaten him then was Vladimir Klitschko. And then after that, ironically, the next guy to have beaten Alexander Povetkin was another Olympic gold medalist, Anthony Joshua. Say what you want about Povetkin and the PEDs, and I've said it quite a few times. the guy can fight. The guy can fight. And the guy can stick to a game plan. And as shown in that fight, as advertised, Povetkin didn't disappoint in terms of his ability to find not only the one-punch knockout over a guy who was 30 pounds heavier than him. For all you people like to talk about a guy being bigger and stronger, he knocked out Dillian Whyte with one shot, an uppercut, left uppercut that was. Beautiful shot, beautifully picked. And he'd been working on that shot before the knockout came. So even when the knockdowns were there, Povetkin knew. He knew what he was. He knew what he was. He was sticking to the same game plan. I'm going to line the shot. I'm going to find the shot. Dillian Whyte took a second, made a slight mistake, and then all of a sudden, bang! Caught with a shot, knocked out. At world level, at elite level, the room for making mistakes is very, very little. And in this fight, you see, in the first fight, Whyte lost his number one position, and his number one position is mandatory to fight for the winner of whoever was the WBC title. He was the mandatory, so he lost that position and he lost the belt. Povetkin won the WBC belt, the number one spot, and now he's won the position and the ability now to be able to more or less call the shots in this rematch, because he's now the guy in the driving seat. So what his team may have overlooked in the first fight, and it has cost Dillian Whyte dearly in terms of stock. All that hard work he's done over the years with Mark Tibbs, literally one uppercut has wiped a lot of that out. And now Whyte is fighting for redemption and his career. Another defeat to Alexander Povetkin, who's what, 42 maybe now, or 41, 42, would be devastating. The first fight was devastating. The second fight I lost to Povetkin would be catastrophic. Why? Well, we all know Povetkin is not in his heyday. He's not in his, this is not prime Povetkin. This is not prime Povetkin, right? And anybody who tries to tell you this is prime Povetkin is lying to you. I don't know when Povetkin's peak was. Maybe when he knocked out Takam, or he knocked out Char. Maybe that was his peak. I don't know. But he's certainly not at his peak now. He's an experienced fighter now. So I don't see Povetkin getting any better. But Povetkin at his best, does Dillian Whyte beat Povetkin at his best? You know, stars make fights. And some stars are wrong for fighters. Yes, Dillian Whyte was ahead on the scorecards. Yes, Dillian Whyte was winning the fight. But when Povetkin landed, Whyte dropped Povetkin. We couldn't finish Povetkin off. Povetkin was able to get off the deck and knock Whyte out. So he came from behind and knocked Whyte out. They might say we're going to go and do the same thing again. If his camp set up the way they set up the first fight, they're going to get beat again and even quicker. I said this fight is going to be determined by the tempo in which Whyte sets. You see, when Michael Hunter came out, and he came out early against Povetkin to put it on Povetkin to see what Povetkin had left, and Povetkin was able to stay there and take those shots and come back, Whyte's team should have looked at that and thought, well, that's Michael Hunter. Dillian Whyte is a heavier guy and arguably hits harder than Michael Hunter. Maybe we need to jump on Povetkin early and try and see what's really there. No. You want to get on the back foot and box like Floyd Mayweather. Povetkin is the better schooled boxer if Olympic gold medalist and WBA champion of the world doesn't tell you anything, take a hint. This guy is a very good boxer, puncher. Dillian Whyte's strength has been when he's on the front foot. I think when he's on the front foot, when he's using his jab, when he is landing left hooks and he's taking the fight to the opposition, I feel that that's where Dillian Whyte's at his best. Against Povetkin, a smaller guy, leaning on him, holding on him, mauling him, that sort of stuff is where Dillian Whyte's going to be at his strength. You know, not allowing Povetkin to fight, pinging him with a jab at long range, which he was doing. That's good. But at slow tempo, Povetkin's got his time to get in, slip under, bang! And the tempo of the fight for me was all wrong. It was all wrong. You're trying to box a guy, an older fighter, and you're not pushing him. You're not pushing him. You're a younger fighter. You're a more athletic, more energetic fighter. You should be putting the pressure on someone like Povetkin. But you got to, like I said, when you do that, you got to do it educated. You can't just rush in there like a fool, run in there like a fool. I'm going to go and knock Povetkin out, because you're going to walk onto counters and walk onto shots. You got to remember, Povetkin's for all types of guys of all sorts of styles from around the world. And so you just got to be careful how you go about it. But by sitting on the back foot and trying to pop by the jab against someone like Povetkin, it's a dangerous game. Because, as I said, in the first fight, once Povetkin gets past the jab and he gets on the inside, Whyte has very little to offer. And that's why what happened. So the sparring you bring in, I was talking about the sparring beforehand, the quality of sparring partners. If you don't invest in quality sparring, I don't know who the sparring partners were. If you don't invest in quality sparring partners, if you don't invest in a quality camp, that will reflect in your fight. If you don't invest, I'm not suggesting Dillian Whyte did or he didn't. But, you know, if you don't invest, that shows up in the fight. Now, I could see from the outside looking in the warning signs of Dillian Whyte and the danger signs coming into this fight. You know, he'd been knocked out. He'd been knocked out by Anthony Joshua. Okay, he was injured coming into that fight. That was something I talked about. I never thought Whyte should take in the fight. But I guess at the time he was told, well, this fight may never come around again. That's a lie. You may never get to fight Anthony Joshua. This is your opportunity. No, that's a lie. I never believed that. I believed that Joshua fight was always there, and he would have had a better chance had he been fit and healthy. That's why Joshua and his team took that fight, because they knew Dillian Whyte was injured. And, you know, at the end, Dillian Whyte lost that fight. Blessing in disguise, really, for him, I guess. But I still don't think he should have taken the fight. He goes and he joins with Mark Tibbs. And Mark Tibbs takes on his great run, takes him up to be #1 in the world. Will fights with Hellenius, who goes and knocks off Kawanaki. He fights and beats Joseph Parker. He beats Mark Big Daddy Brown. He fights Oscar Rivas, who now is, I think, the #1 contender for the Bridgerweight title. So, you know, then he meets Alexander Povetkin. But in all those fights, look, that I said they saw weaknesses. In the Joshua fight, we saw the injuries and he got knocked out by the uppercut. Then we saw his fight with Joseph Parker, straight for the middle, overhand right, drops Dillian Whyte. Then we see with Rivas, gets hit with the uppercut. Right? Then you see these fights. And these fights are all fighters fighting patterns. And when you fight in patterns, you watch you on table and saying, all right, he's open to the overhand right, he's open to the uppercut. So where do you think Povetkin got the idea of coming with the uppercut from? He saw it against Joshua, he saw it against Rivas, so he tried it himself. Left uppercut, bang, through the middle. It's like Dillian Whyte doesn't see it. Slip under the jab, bang with the uppercut, bang. Probably didn't see the uppercut when Joshua hit him with it. Didn't see the uppercut when Rivas hit him with it. Blindsided by the uppercut by Rivas. And I said, if Dillian Whyte gets hit by that shot, The difference between Rivas and Parker is that Povetkin is a brutal finisher. Povetkin won't let you off the hook. We saw that against David Price. We've seen it as Manuel Shah. We've seen it against Takam. Povetkin. And even in that fight with Price, Price had his moment against Povetkin. He didn't take it. And what happened afterwards? Povetkin came back against a much bigger guy in Price with a big punch. We all know the right hand. He comes back and he stops David Price. So all the warning signs were there. White, as he moved up in class, was seeing the canvas more regularly. Because at the highest level, if your defense is leaky, you have lapses of concentration, or you're sloppy in certain aspects, or you lose concentration. This is where, at the highest level, you can get caught and your lights can be put out like that, as we've seen in the Povetkin fight. So this is not a hating video, because often we've come into a culture in boxing where constructive criticism or even just analysis, it's on video, it's on tape. Did you get knocked down by Parker? Yeah. Did you get knocked down by Rivas? Yeah. Was it the overhand right you got dropped by Parker? Yes. Was it the uppercut you got hit by Rivas? Yes. I'm not looking at the fact you won the fight. I'm looking at those weaknesses. Because if I'm looking at those weaknesses and I can see those things, then surely the likes of Povetkin and other guys at world level can see those weaknesses too. So, you know, if I'm training with, if I'm Dillian Whyte's advisors, you need to bring in quality sparring partners. I would seriously consider bringing in Oscar Rivas into camp, because he's one of those guys that would show you like the uppercut where Whyte was exposed to and got knocked down by Rivas. I don't know what relationship like Whyte's got with Rivas that got put to one side, but he should bring Rivas into camp. That's one guy he should definitely bring into camp, because I think that style is what you know, coming in low and coming up with the uppercut. So he's one guy I'd look at. I'd have to look at other fighters as well, but he needs guys who are going to replicate what Povetkin would do. And the three shots that Dillian Whyte has got to be aware of coming to his rematch: the overhand right, the uppercut, and the left hook. Not so much the jab, or the overhand right. That one comes over the top, the one that Parker hit Whyte with. Those are the three shots he's really got to look for and be aware of, while being able to set up his own, use his own crisp jab to keep Povetkin in the right hand. To hit Povetkin, the shots he hit Povetkin with and drop Povetkin with. That's what he should say. Well, you know what? I know if I hit him with a left hook, I can drop him. And Povetkin, he didn't look that hurt, because you think about it, he got dropped by Whyte at the end of the round. He went back to his corner. He came out, his legs looked pretty steady, and he finished Whyte off with the uppercut. Whether that left hook was a balance thing with Povetkin, maybe Povetkin's not as well. I don't know if he was balanced. He's got balance issues. I don't know. He's an older fighter now, but his powers of recovery then were very interesting. Because if you look when Joshua fought Povetkin and Joshua in that right hand, Povetkin was gone. He was disco. He didn't know where he was. But Whyte, when he hit him with the left hook, and he got hit with two left hooks now, and he got dropped twice. He went back to the corner. Look what he goes back to the corner. He comes out next round, bang, with a left hook, left uppercut, and knocks Whyte out. So the other thing in the corner is what happened in between the point of Whyte being on top of that fight and then Whyte getting knocked out. What happened? Where was it? How was Povetkin able to get into that position to land that shot? Because he was looking to land that shot from round one. So his camp have got to go back and look at that and not say, well, you know, we're going to go and do the same thing we did the last time. Yeah? Well, you're going to get the same result that you got the last time. Doing the same thing, expecting different results is insanity. It's like planting It's like setting set up seeds, and you put in the ground. You're looking to buy. You put seeds in the ground for a mango tree, expecting bananas. Not gonna happen. You'll be sitting there waiting for the mango tree to produce bananas. Not gonna happen. If you want bananas, set the seeds up for banana tree. That bit's not rocket science. How you get to that point is the determination whether you have a world-class camp or not. And the determination of world-class camp is how you set up the sort of quality spar you bring in. If you decide to pay peanuts for sparring partners, then that's exactly the career you're going to have. No more pay-per-view fights. If you lose this fight to Povetkin, you're done. They ain't talking about fight with Deontay Wilder and, you know, Luis Ortiz and this and that. Listen, you don't get rid of Alexander Povetkin, your name's not in the hat with him, guys. So I would advise that keep those people out of your mouth. Don't talk about them, guys. You need to be focused 150%. The 50% for the last fight and 100% for this fight. You need to be completely focused on this rematch. Absolutely. Forget the press. Forget about, oh, you're the favorite coming in and you won the fight. Forget all that. Forget all that. And Adam Smith, it's an upset. It was never an upset. How can a guy who's an Olympic gold medalist and a WBA champion of the world, you never won no Olympic gold medal. You never come close to winning an Olympic gold medal. And you've never been a world champion. How is that an upset? I don't understand it. And this thing about this idea that Dillian Whyte was guaranteed to beat Povetkin. Who wrote that script? So if we start writing scripts, if we write scripts like this in boxing, that we're so arrogant enough to, Dillian Whyte will beat him. That's called complacency. That's where you think you just got to show up and deliver. And that just shows in the way you set up your camp. You know what I mean? You should be in, you turn up to England the week of the fight. You've been training in Portugal. And then you just roll up you just come back and acclimatise to England. It's nice warm weather out there. You just roll up the week of the fight. No, you need to be back in England. Need to be back 2-3 weeks. Ready for the fight. You know? You talk about wanting to have the fight abroad and have to fight in Russia. Don't worry about that stuff. Don't worry about that stuff. Because whether you're fighting in England, which was in your backyard, you got knocked out. If the fight's in Dubai, it's in Russia, it's in Canada, or in Povetkin's backyard, promoter's backyard. If you can't beat Povetkin, that's it. So this fight is, this is what they call make or break. This is it. Because after this, you get knocked out again by Povetkin. You seriously think about talking about fighting Deontay Wilder? Oh, are you serious? You see don't mind about what Tyson Fury did to Wilder for a second. Don't worry about that. Because everybody else in that queue was getting knocked out and getting dispatched real quickly with the right hand. So if I'm Dillian Whyte's team, I'm working on tightening up my defense. I'm working on not backing straight up against the ropes or walking myself to the ropes. In the build-up to this fight, I said if Dillian Whyte backs himself up to the ropes, look where he got knocked out in the end. Look exactly where Whyte got knocked out, right by the ropes. This is what I said as well in the fight. Whyte has got to be in the center of the ring for this fight with Povetkin. He cannot concede ground. He cannot take steps back. If he does, well, he'll end up where he was the last time. Look where he ended up. Look where he ended up. So this ain't hating. Hating is where you turn around and you don't point out the weaknesses and say, look, this is what needs to be worked on. Hating would be to say, Dillian Whyte's rubbish and Povetkin's great. And no, I'm saying, look, these are the danger signs. These are the danger signs. These are what I think, these are the sort of areas I think the Russians are looking at. They're looking at, your strength. Yeah, he's a big guy. He throws a left hook. Do you know what I mean? He'll get off the canvas and fight. He does tend to tire the later stages of fights. You know, can switch off. Vulnerable when he goes back against ropes. Limited amateur experience. You know, does like to get caught up in a tear up at times. And when you look at those things, you think, okay, right, these are the ways I'd go about beating Whyte. But you'll do that against any opponent. Any opponent. Just look at the tempo that Hunter put against Povetkin. That's the tempo that Whyte's got to be putting against Povetkin. This stepping on the back foot, trying to box like Mayweather, it's not good. It's not good. And I say, if they go out and do that stuff again, they'll get knocked out and faster this time around. And on top of all these things, the other thing that Whyte's got to deal with now is confidence in his chin and his confidence in his ability to come back and fight. So that's a huge thing. And he's got his career on the line. He will be hesitant. Of course he'll be hesitant. He'll have nerves and hesitancy. Povetkin will be he'll think, you know what? I've done this already. What do I have to do again? I'm the better fighter. I fought at the higher level. I've got a more proven fighter. What do I have to do again? Just keep on, just work, just improve on what I did before. COVID will have had some effect. And I don't know how much effect that will have on Povetkin's rematch. I don't know if that's going to take something away from Povetkin. I don't know if he's giving Povetkin time to rest. I don't know. If the fight was made when Whyte wanted the fight to be made originally, I don't know how good that would have been for Whyte's career in terms of his body rejuvenating everything. But now I think in March, it gives Whyte enough time to recover from the knockout and to come again. So I don't know. It depends on how Whyte's camp come together. You know, there needs to be unity in the camp. The trainer and fighter need to come together. There has to be, you know, with any camp, respect from trainer and fighter. Fighter has to believe in trainer. If fighter doesn't believe in trainer, then it's not going to work. You know, so, you know, that's with any camp. There has to be respect. The trainer has to command respect. The fighter's going to have to listen to the trainer, because if the fighter does his own thing through camp, then he's basically training himself. Doesn't want that happening. If the fighter doesn't believe in the trainer, then that shows in camp when they're sparring and training. The trainer might say, hey, keep your right hand up. That's only the trainer. He don't know what he's talking about. I'll keep my hand down here. You see? And those things happen in fighters. When you listen to somebody, you really respect them. You will listen to the trainer. Says, keep your hands up. You're going to keep your hands up. Trainer says, you get behind the jab and make sure your shoulders tucked up there. You throw your jab. You listen, because you know you respect your trainer. You respect what your trainer's got to say. You don't respect your trainer. Trainer says, keep your hands up. You keep your shoulder up. And you say, you just bring your hand down. You don't know what you're talking about. You do that. Then you come fight time, that bad habit of keeping a hand down here when you should have had it up here because you weren't listening to the trainer, because you didn't respect your trainer. You go into the fight now and use the jab, and you bring the jab down here, you get caught with the left over the cup, you get knocked out. Who's there to blame? You can't look at your trainer. Because you've got to look at yourself and take responsibility for your actions. So whether it be Dillian Whyte or Tyson Fury or Lennox Lewis or Muhammad Ali, if you haven't got the respect, if your trainer's not respected, you don't respect your trainer, then, you know, there's an issue there. You know, I've heard people talk about, well, he should bring Mark Tibbs back. I don't know if that's even plausible or workable now, because, you know, there's two people in that arrangement. It's not just Dillian Whyte bringing him back. It's whether Mark Tibbs wants to come back. And Mark Tibbs may feel, wow, well, at least I escaped that one. My career of Dillian Whyte, I led him to #1 and I left him unbeaten. That's what I did. No, I took him over and he was unbeaten. So the legend or the myth of Mark Tibbs will go on. I say a myth because we don't know whether Mark Tibbs would have got Dillian Whyte over the fight with Povetkin. You would have thought he would have done based on what Tibbs has done previously with Whyte. But let's remember, in the Tibbs fights, let's not delude ourselves here. In the Tibbs fights, Tibbs was in his corner when he got knocked down by Rivas. Tibbs was in his corner when he got buzzed by Whyte. Tibbs was in his corner when he got dropped by Parker. So let's not make Tibbs into being the saviour, right? Tibbs is a very good trainer. But it didn't stop Dillian Whyte getting knocked down. And I don't know if Tibbs going to stop that uppercut, because that uppercut, Whyte didn't get up. Do you understand? And at the back of Dillian Whyte's mind, he knows that one mistake, he'll be on the canvas again. One mistake. This time it might not be the uppercut, it might be the left hook, it might be the right hand. That's why he's got to tighten up that defense. And it's got to be all about defense this fight. Tighten up defense. So that's my thoughts. How much Povetkin got left? We were asking that question when they fought the last time. The question should be asked is, how much has Dillian Whyte got to offer at the elite level in heavyweight boxing? Is his camp a world-class camp? Has he got the minerals, not as a fighter, but in his training camp and regime, and how he sets up his camp for this fight in the rematch? Will it be a world-class setup? Because it's going to have to be. He will have to invest in world-class sparring for this rematch. You can't get by just having your mate come along and spar with you, or just, you have to invest in sparring. It's so key for this fight. He'll need world-class fighters for this match, for him to be able to work on things, you know, to areas where he's weak, he can work on those things. I hope that he's invested in camp for that, because if not, we could be seeing a similar result. So I'm hoping and praying for the excitement of the heavyweight division. A Dillian Whyte winning and beating Povetkin is good for the heavyweight division in terms of a character, in terms of British boxing. I mean, you'll have Whyte, Fury, you know, Joshua. You know, there's a rematch with Joshua he could take on there. You know, a win for Dillian Whyte would be, you know, I know that a lot of people don't like Dillian Whyte, you know, but I think that you need characters in boxing. We can't on one hand be saying, oh, he's not fighting any opposition, and then when he fights opposition and gets beat, he's like, oh well, he weren't that good anyway. You know, we have to have some form of we need to close those goalposts in boxing and say, you know what, he got beat by Povetkin. Can he come back and put it right? And I hope he does put it right. I really do. So I hope his team, I hope him, his management, they really study Povetkin, seriously study Povetkin. And they should look to that Hunter fight and thought, nah, this guy ain't shot yet. This guy has got a lot to offer. I remember listening to Dillian Whyte saying, when he was looking at Povetkin, he said, I'm ready to fight Povetkin. All I have to do is put a jab on him. I'll stick him with a jab. Yeah, maybe he said that when Mark Tibbs was around, and Mark Tibbs may have had an idea about it. But he's got a different trainer now and different ideas. I wish Dillian Whyte all the best in his rematch. And of course, good luck, Alexander Povetkin.